If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members.
My apologies. That was a little bit of a snafu there at the beginning. Welcome, everybody. I'm John Wheaton, founder of The Righteous Savages and co-host here on Survival Dispatch. And this evening, I am joined by, get them up here real quick, of course, Mr. S2, as always. And how are you tonight, brother?
I'm hanging out, man. Hanging out.
Yep. And tonight, we also have our special guest, Sam Anthony, from yournews.com. We'll get to that in a little bit. But tonight, as you guys probably saw from the thumbnail, we are talking about pattern recognition when it comes to the attacks of Islamic terrorist groups and how the past can be a great predictor of the future. And so we're going to go through a couple of attacks that I think are really the blueprint for what the Islamic Army, because that's what they call themselves now. We knew ISIS, we knew Al-Qaeda, we knew all of these other organizations, and they have all combined together under one umbrella. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, and we are the target. So we want to get into that and dig into it pretty deep tonight. November 13th, the attack in Paris is one of the key events that we're going to cover, as well as the Mumbai hotel attack in 2008. So, Sam, give you a chance to say, hey, how are you tonight, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. This is going to be an interesting conversation. I hope I could add good value to what you guys are talking about. That's all.
Yep. I'm sure you will be able to. This is, well, I'm nowhere close to an expert, but I read a lot and I study a lot and I understand how to look at patterns, and it's going to be fun tonight.
Good.
Before we get going, I'm going to let Mr. S2 talk about or give us the conflicted question. The conflicted question is a scenario-based question that we want your interaction with. We want you guys to give us your answers. And it's always kind of one of those questions where you're weighing your options, and we'll get our answers at the end, but we'll go ahead and give it to you guys so you guys can be thinking about yours. S2?
Okay, here we go. Before I read this, everybody smash that like button like a radical Islamist slapped your mama. Here we go. How would you deal with betrayal in a world post-collapse? There are no laws, but the ones you and your group choose to observe. Where do you draw the line between forgiving someone and seeking justice? Give examples.
That question could get deep real quick.
That's an easy one. That's an easy one.
It's a philosophical question for sure, but we will save that to the end, and we'll return to it at the end of the show so we can get you guys' answers. And like S2 said, hit that like and subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And one other thing before we get going, if you guys are enjoying our content, you like what we're presenting you guys with, go ahead and go over to our Substack and sign up for a free account. Absolutely free. And what that gets you is our Saturday Watch Guide. That's a list of all of the shows that we do, and we do 6 days a week here at Survival Dispatch, as well as many articles and alerts, information coming from intelligence sources around the world. And we are giving it all to you guys. But you get that Saturday Watch Guide for free when you sign up. That will show you the things that you may have missed, because we all know how big tech loves to suppress by just not telling you that we are live. So that's one way that you can fight against it, because you'll always get those alerts on our Substack. Also, if you are guys are interested in any kind of survival meat, protein, that kind of thing, go over to Carnivalt and get 10% off with the code EATMEAT. It's amazing stuff. I've eaten and consumed all of the meat that I got from them, and it's all been the highest quality, and I highly recommend it. I will be getting more of it for sure. All right, without further ado, let's move to our main topic. The series of coordinated terrorist attacks on November 13th, 2015 in Paris, France, conducted by ISIS, they killed over 130 people and injured 400. The targets included the Bataclan Concert Hall, Stade de France, and multiple cafes and restaurants.
Wow, this sounds familiar.
Yes. So we're going to start with some news videos and such to kind of set the stage here. So let me get those pulled up real quick. Give me 1 second. We were talking and I didn't have everything up like I should have. So you can fire me. That's totally fine.
Bad John.
Yep. All right. So let me show this real quick. This is a quick video, 2 minutes and 44 seconds. We'll probably watch the whole thing and give you guys an idea of the backdrop. This is the timeline of how the terrorist attacks unfolded. So we'll watch this and then we'll react to it.
I was eating at the restaurant with a friend of mine. All of a sudden we heard huge gunshots and lots of glass coming through the window. So we ducked onto the floor with all of the other diners and we heard numerous more gunshots coming through the window.
It is a terrible, terrible event that is upon us. In these harsh moments, think about the victims who are very numerous, for their families, for the wounded.
Je peux retransmettre, là j'ai des policiers, Est-ce que vous avez tous entendu?
Everybody was on the floor covering their head, and we heard so many gunshots, and the terrorists were very calm, very determined, and they reloaded 3 or 4 times their weapons. There were no empty rooms. It was sold out, basically. So it was easy for them.
Okay. So just as a recap, let me add here. Sorry, I didn't have that set up right. As a recap of that night, obviously, as the video says, started at 9:20, where the first explosion happened in the stadium. and a friendly soccer match between France and Germany, and that was followed by gunfire in restaurants. There was a lot of tactics of somewhat like drive-by shootings at cafes and restaurants by terrorists. And then the most deadly attack was at the Bataclan Concert Hall, where the Eagles of Death Metal was the name of the band. I still remember it to this day. And that was where 89 people were killed inside of that concert hall. They took it captive, sealed all of the exits, and just proceeded to start mass killing people. So S2, and I'm not gonna put Sam on the spot for the first question. I'm going to go to you first, and then Sam, I'll come back to you with
Sure.
one of the questions. So how did the coordinated timing of these attacks demonstrate ISIS operational sophistication compared to the lone wolf incidents that we've historically seen?
So these obviously were orchestrated attacks. They had their timeline set. They had scouted their targets well in advance, so they had the recon element there. They used a group called the EMNI, who basically are the intelligence wing of ISIS at the time. They orchestrated, they planned the attacks in Syria under direction of their ringleader, Abdelhamid Aboud. And he was later killed in a police raid on an apartment along with one other guy. But this was carried out more like a military operation than it was just something random. And I mean, with things happening like that within that timeline, it's very clear that this was a planned incident. I'm not going to call it incidents plural. I'm going to call it an incident, because all of those attacks were one incident that happened in a very precise timeline. They also had other things with this too. They had logistics. They had support from a cell in Brussels, Belgium. So, and they also had people that exploited the Greek border, that allowed them to take the immigrant pathway from Greece into Paris. So where we talk about lone wolf attacks basically are simply recruited, radicalized people through propaganda that they find online, that once they are then turned loose to determine their own targets and their own timing unless instructed otherwise.
Right. Yep. Seeking that's opportunistic type thing. When the opportunity presents itself, that's when you attack for a lone wolf style thing. Okay. Well, so Sam,
we saw that in Louisiana early it was late last year, I believe it was.
It was New Year's Day or New Year's Eve.
With the car ramming done in Louisiana. Yep.
So, all right. So, Sam, with that kind of in mind, and we've seen this over the years, the Mumbai hotel attack, honestly, recently, the Russian mall that happened just a couple of years ago. So what specific vulnerabilities in Western security protocols, so like in the Western world, in America, we'll just use that as an example, what vulnerabilities in security protocols did the Paris attackers exploit that American cities should address? So where are we vulnerable for these style of attacks in the homeland?
Everywhere. Are you kidding me? Okay, I mean, these are all soft targets. How are you going to stop somebody from doing it? I mean, look, I'm not a terrorist, but if somebody gave me a vest that could blow up, because I certainly wouldn't know how to make it myself, and I wanted to commit suicide, I could walk into the mall and be in front of a bunch of people and kill myself, and they're all dead. There's no way to stop this stuff. I mean, so I'm a little brutal when it comes to the Muslim religion. I don't think they interact well with, with other cultures. And, people call me a racist. I say yes, I don't mind, because I give a rat's ass what people think. I think they need to be taken back to their homeland, simply because you can't control this type of thing. It can't be controlled. And they don't interact well with other cultures. And anytime you bring God into the picture, it's a mess, because if God told you to do it, anything I say is not going to help the situation. Right. So I'm of the opinion that all Muslims need to go. And I didn't say kill them. I said just bring them back to their homeland and let them kill themselves. I mean, the reason they're able to do this stuff is because other countries let them in.
Yeah.
If you're not allowed in, none will happen. The end.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. And this doesn't stop. I actually have communications with Sarah Adams. I don't know if you know who Sarah Adams is. She was on Sean Ryan a couple of times. I've been to a couple of briefings with her. And I know Khalid Muhammad that was possibly going to be on tonight, but wasn't able to make it. He is basically feeds her a lot of intelligence information. She's a former CIA targeter. And she talks about these vests that they can get in that can get through security systems that we have. And once they're in the country, this is the problem. And this is what made the southern border so much more than just, them coming in and, foreigners coming in and replacing our workforce. It's so much bigger than that. It's such a big thing that needed to be addressed, because along with that, and we know of hundreds and thousands of known terrorists that made it through that porous border. And once they're in, because of the freedom that we enjoy in this country, the freedom of movement, they have a specific ability to inflict a lot of damage in a free society. And that's an unfortunate side effect of freedom. And this is not me saying we need to take away any freedom, because the only people you're going to take freedom away from are people that aren't going to do this kind of stuff. The only people that these kind of laws actually affect, it's like gun control. The only people that affect are the people that are going to abide by the laws, law-abiding citizens, as it were. But that is, I think you hit the nail on the head. It is absolutely because of our border. You have to stop it at the border. Otherwise, it's too late.
Yes. Our troll's back.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm just going to ignore the trolls tonight. Yes, we have some trolls that want to. I'm not going to address them tonight. Let's just stay on topic. S2, and I'm going to ask both of you this, and then we'll move on to the next story. Just real quick, what lessons can American law enforcement learn from the French response timeline during these attacks? Real quick, like 30-second answer.
First, know that it has, and is happening here. Don't be complacent. Get better training in counterterrorism tactics, because by and large, I would probably say 99.9% of the police forces out there have never had any training in counterterrorism tactics.
Yes.
And that includes intelligence gathering. Yeah.
It's true. We're looking for gangbangers with their dime bags in the corner houses, the rundown neighborhoods, and that's not what we're dealing with. Sam, same question to you. What can American law enforcement learn from the French response timeline during these attacks?
Well, I would have to agree with us too. Keep in mind, I'm not an expert on this stuff, but I mean, anybody that's been in military knows that they just keep running training. They keep running training, right? I mean, so you really need to train for all this stuff and hope it never happens. But if it does, you need to be prepared. So that's the only thing you can do, because you're not going to be able to stop it. Anybody can do this at any time. It's just, what are you going to do after the fact? Because it seems to me that in these things, they're basically committing suicide, right? It's not like you could go get them. They're already blown to smithereens. They're just taking other people with them. So the thing that happened in Israel, that was a little crazier, killing all those people. So anyway,
October 7th was, that was definitely it.
Well, here's another key point too. Look at what they did afterwards. They allowed their citizens to be armed.
Yes. They should have mandated it.
And this is what I said. I could do a whole episode on the positivity that we've seen out of this iteration of the Trump administration on pro-gun legislation, pro-gun walking back gun laws, and trying to get rid of even centuries-old gun laws, which they weren't successful at, but the movement is really, really important, because the more freedoms that we have as American citizens, and only American citizens, the more freedoms that we have to defend ourselves, the better protected we're going to be when these things clack off. And a lot less people are going to die if we can actually defend ourselves at the moment in those critical seconds when it is important for us to do. So I put this map up here a few minutes ago, and this is showing a map of the 6 locations. Some of you guys may not be able to see it real well, but 6 locations in this Paris attack, and you can see this is the stadium, and you see, interestingly, that the stadium is far away from the other attacks. That's not an accident. This is what intelligence is saying is going to be the MO, is that they want this big attack in an area away from the secondary attack.
They were isolating.
Yes, they want to pull first responders away from where the actual attacks are going to happen. And then you see these other attacks literally almost in a line. And that line, the center of that line is the concert hall where the most people died. That was 89.
And also look at the cultural places where they're also located. So you have Place de la Concorde and you have the Louvre, which gives even more credence to the psychological effect, because those are also places where a lot of people congregate.
Yeah. So real quick, and I'm going to go to you first, Sam, and then come back to S2. How did the multi-location strategy maximize terror impact and strain emergency response capabilities?
Well, it's simple. I mean, looking at the timeline, which looks like they were all fairly close, right? 2125, 2132, 2140, 2140. So they were all fairly close. I mean, to me, I would think they would want to spread one out to get everybody rushed over here so they could hit them. So I would say, based on the minutes that these things are so close apart, and by the way, what's the distance between, and I know you, I don't know if you know the answer to this question, between the stadium, which is Voltaire, all the way up to the Petit restaurant, whatever that is.
It's like about 20 kilometers.
Yeah. So here, down here on this legend, you can see this is a kilometer. So 5, maybe 10, something like that. It's across the city.
Across this, so would it be different responders or the same?
So typically, and I only know this, my partner is a SWAT cop. Now, mind you, a smaller town SWAT cop, but my partner with Righteous Savages, he always talks about when there's a big attack, and then almost everybody goes. That's just kind of the way that it's like active shooter type stuff. Whoever gets there first, everybody kind of goes to the scene. And that's kind of been the protocol. Now, I don't know French protocols off the top of my head, but that's generally, you have, even in a big city, you have limited resources because this was an explosion. So you probably only have maybe, 5 bomb squads in the entirety of Paris. That's how specialized these kinds of units are. So they would have sent those over to see, okay, is there going to be secondary explosions? And then obviously your medical. The biggest thing to keep in mind, especially when we start talking about America, is this new strategy that they're talking about with second tier cities and those with limited tier 1 trauma centers. Tier 1 trauma centers are obviously those that can handle any kind of emergency. Be it you got your arm blown off, or you were in a crazy car accident, or you have some kind of reaction, infectious disease, that kind of stuff. Tier 1 trauma centers are really the key in being able to handle casualties in these kind of situations. But yes, I think that it's you have a decent distance between that, and then all of these are within a few kilometers of each other. So this one was clearly off.
So obviously, just whatever municipality you're in, they have their own set, of people, like, their own law enforcement. So you're going to have other law enforcement called in to handle this stuff. I mean, that's the only way you could do it, because you're limited. Like you said, there's only 5 bomb squads, and can they be everywhere? No. I mean, so, really, these terrorists could really wreak serious havoc if they had enough people, because there wouldn't be enough resources to take care of everything.
Well, and I'll point this out, and then I'm going to go to S2 on this one, is like the Bataclan Concert Center is right here in the middle of this line. It's also the furthest away from the initial attack. And it was 20 minutes between the first attack and that attack. And most of these other attacks were kind of like drive-by shootings, that kind of stuff. I would say in the chaos and the fog of war, you probably don't connect the dots right off the bat until you start seeing them happening in sequence. But I think the whole goal was to draw away those specialized police so that they could take control of the concert hall, because there were several hundred people in that concert hall. And that was the hostage situation. That was a 3-hour hostage situation. But so S2, I'm going to ask you, what role did the 3-hour hostage situation in Bataclan play in amplifying the psychological warfare effect? Because I think that's really what this was all about. Your thoughts, sir?
Well, terrorism in itself is psychological warfare. That's all it is. It's not so much as about killing people. It's more about instilling fear in a public so that they are deer in the headlights and won't do anything, won't go outside, they'll just stay home, which allows for a takeover of an area. As for the psychological amplification of it, you have a lot of people in one place. We look at the Las Vegas shooting, we can compare that to this, because it's really kind of the same thing. We didn't have any hostage situation there other than whoever took those shots were basically keeping an entire crowd hostage by keeping them pinned down in a penned-in area. So once again, it basically paralyzed them to do anything about it. If you put that map back up there, I want to show you something here that I also find is interesting.
Give me just 1 second. I just closed out of it, but I will bring it back up. Give me just 1 second here.
So that map right there, I don't know what that river is that falls behind it. I don't know if that's the Seine. If that's the Seine River, there is a parallel here with this and the attacks in Mumbai, because the terrorists that came to Mumbai came by boat. So they had a back door. So this right here I think is key, because look how far they are from the water. They probably came in through the water and then came up behind, while there was already another team, 2 teams in place at the Stade de France.
Yeah.
So there's a parallel there that I want you to see.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And whether it was or not, it's definitely something, there's a pattern. So we always look at patterns. We want to make sure that we assess when we see a pattern. And so river water entry, potential water entry would be something that you would look at. So this is a post on X. This was basically November 13th, 2024. This is 9 years after the initial attack. We're coming up on 10 years since this France attack. Watch a little bit of this video, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail on this.
It's Friday, November 13th, 2015. A night of horror has just begun. The first attack happened outside France's National Stadium, when 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up within 10 minutes of each other. A third suicide attack took place less than half an hour later. President François Hollande, who was in the stadium attending a friendly match with Germany, was taken to safety. At the same time, more attacks were taking place in the center of the French capital. Gunmen shot at a cafe and restaurant on the Rue Alibert in the 10th arrondissement. Minutes later, they opened fire on the Rue de la Fontaine-au-Roi and Rue de Charonne in the 11th.
Il y avait du sang partout. Les gens sont tombés comme des mouches. C'était une vraie scène de guerre. J'avais l'impression d'être dans les tranchées.
But the biggest attack of the evening began when 3 terrorists burst into the Bataclan Concert Hall and opened fire with automatic weapons. They were targeting 1,500 people attending a rock concert. A journalist for Le Monde who lived next door filmed some of the concert-goers escaping via a back door and others hanging from windows desperately trying to get free. Some of those stuck inside hid in groups where they could. 2 police officers arrived and killed one of the terrorists on the ground floor. The 2 others were upstairs. They had taken hostages. At that point, French special forces moved in. They secured the ground floor and survivors filed out.
On était tous allongés et là j'ai vu que en fait ils tiraient de partout et donc là c'est l'instinct de survie. On est tous au sol, on bouge pas, on voudrait rentrer dans le sol pour pas qu'on nous voie.
Les uns sur les autres recroquevillés à entendre tous les coups de Kalachnikov, les gens comme si les gens se faisaient torturer, les gens avaient mal parce que.
I'll stop it there. I love the French language, but I can only listen to a little bit of the language I don't understand. So, anyways, moving on. So, with this, I'll go to you first, S2. How did these attacks represent an escalation in ISIS international terrorism capabilities? And I would probably not even say ISIS. I would say the Islamic Army, because that's really what we're dealing with. The coalition of Islamic terrorist groups that are looking to do more attacks like this.
Well, ISIS claimed that the reason for these attacks were because of the bombings in Syria and Iraq at the time. But what it does show is that they are able and willing and have the resources to be able to plan and carry out these attacks. And they also have the willingness to do so regardless of the consequence.
Yeah. Yep.
And then what France did in return, yeah, that wasn't fun either.
Why don't you talk about that real quick, briefly?
Well, I believe France upped its counterterrorism. They spent another $850 billion to up their security. They started performing house-to-house warrantless searches, looking for suspected terrorists at that point in time. And it really raised a big stink over there because everybody was screaming just like they are here with the deportations and everything. Oh, civil rights, civil rights, civil rights. Well, if you're living amongst terrorists and you're living amongst terrorists, maybe you shouldn't be living amongst terrorists if you don't want to get hassled.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Sam, going to you. How did ISIS, their media strategy around the attacks, influence their recruitment and future operations? So when we're talking about this, we're looking at the methods of bringing in new recruits. And so obviously you attacked a major city in a major NATO country that is, one of the most well-known cities in the world. How does that affect the media strategy for a terrorist organization in recruitment?
Well, I mean, first of all, they're preying on the weak, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're looking for people that have weak minds, that are not happy with their own lives, that are looking for a cause. So, I mean, I don't know how you market to those people. I don't know what their marketing strategy is. There something on LinkedIn? Are you happy? Are you miserable?
72 virgins.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I all I can tell you is that they're able to pull it off. And that in itself is like, holy crap. This is what I'm saying. I mean, and so the people, some of these people, they pull it off are American citizens or French citizens or German citizens, right? And they're able to get these people to do their dirty work. That just is utterly amazing to me, that somebody's mind would be that weak that they want to kill themselves for a cause that is never going to be.
Yep.
I mean, everything they do is a complete waste of time. I mean, all it does is upset and aggravate everybody's life. But at the end of the day, do you really see Muslims controlling the United States of America? Okay, at least in a terrorist form, no. It's not going to happen.
It didn't happen after 9/11.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, it goes back to my saying. I mean, if you just grab everybody that's a Muslim and get them out of the country, I don't care if you're not a terrorist. You don't live here anymore. You just solved a massive problem. Get rid of all the churches. Yes, we are church racists. That's the end of it. We had enough. Goodbye. But I don't control that stuff, because if I did, you wouldn't see any of that crap.
Yeah.
The problem that you have with that, if I'll put up a little point of debate on that, is that you have a lot of homegrown radical extremists, aka HVEs, as the FBI calls them, that have converted to Islam, that are Americans that do live here, and they don't have any other place to go but here. So how do you address that?
Well, look, I'm a firm believer in getting rid of the problem, so there isn't one. So you either lock them up in a cell and go, guess what? This is your new piece of real estate. You live here, or you take them to another country and get rid of them. One or the other. So, or dispose of them. Most people don't like to hear that stuff, but you know what? Imagine being in a mall and having a terrorist blow up, blow himself up with your wife and kids sitting right there. Okay. So if you don't want to see that happen, you need to eliminate those people. And that's just, you can't negotiate. There's no such thing as negotiation. So to me, I'm sorry, I'm a little brutal, but I just, if you want to, I'm easygoing, John. If you want to have a conversation and, Sam, I want this. Well, I want this. Well, we'll figure it out. There's no negotiating here. I'm sorry. There's none. Okay. It's, we want you dead and we don't care what you want.
It's so Winston Churchill said something in the death throes of the Battle of Britain when they were talking about negotiating with Adolf Hitler. And I know there's a lot of revisionist history out there about Adolf Hitler now, but in any case, he says, you cannot negotiate with a tiger when your head's in its mouth. And that's the reality of it. When one side is not negotiating in good faith, this is what you get. And, there's a lot of people that just want to, for some reason, they want to focus on everything in the last 50 years instead of focusing on the last 15 centuries that we have of evidence of the conquest and the ideology. Do you guys know that Christianity was founded in the Middle East? How much Christianity is in the Middle East now? Because it was driven out by radical Islamists.
25%.
I mean, I would be surprised if it was that high, in all honesty. And it's only in countries like Israel and in places like that where it's actually allowed to freely worship as a Christian. So, the ideology is conquest, get control of the government, and then seize power and make it almost impossible to have a differing religion or a worldview and survive. So, anyways, I get fired up too, Sam.
Winston Churchill was one to talk about having his head in the tiger's mouth because he was colluding with Hitler behind the scenes with the Muslim Brotherhood. So, just saying.
So, anyways, let's see here. What's next here? Let's look at this one. What motivated the terrorist attack in Paris? Let's watch this real quick. It's a YouTube video. It's about 3 minutes.
The Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, known as ISIS, has claimed credit for Friday's terrorist attack in Paris, and the French government also blames the Islamic militant group. Peter Newman studies and teaches terrorism and radicalization at King's College in London. He joins me now from there to discuss the group and its intentions. Peter, these latest attacks sort of put to rest the idea that ISIS was mostly concerned about actions in the Middle East. What do you think that they are trying to accomplish with these most recent attacks?
I think there are three aims here. The first is classical asymmetric warfare. You're hitting us, we're going to take revenge by hitting you where it hurts most, namely at home. The second intention is really to polarize and to divide European societies, to create that sense of Islam against the West, and to create a lot of mess in the countries that they oppose. The third intention that often gets forgotten is also internally. I think the Islamic State has been on the defensive in its core territory in Iraq and Syria. And this kind of attack, I think, motivates supporters and gives them, again, the feeling that they are part of a winning team. And that's really important.
So this is part of their strategy of not just maybe scaring the West off from attacks against them, but trying to recruit more people to the cause.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to understand in the case of ISIS that it is important to understand the ideology, but it's also important for a lot of Western recruits, the sense that they are part of a winning team, that this is a successful, ever-expanding project. That's how it seemed last year, and it hasn't seemed like that for a number of months. And this kind of attack is almost diverting attention from some of the problems that ISIS is having in Iraq and Syria. And for that reason, it is very important for ISIS to have it.
U.S. officials in the past have been saying that the fight against ISIS might take some patience and might take some time. In your opinion, is this a fight that can be hastened?
I think it's very dangerous to try to hasten it too much. I think, contrary to what everyone says, the campaign that has been going on in Iraq and Syria has not been altogether unsuccessful. It has contained the Islamic State. It has taken away the notion of it as a successful organization in its core territory. And if you want to hasten it, of course, America can basically bomb the whole place. But the question then becomes, what happens the day after that? So you have to bring ISIS down in a way that it actually implodes. That's the only way in which you can have a sustainable end to ISIS.
Okay, some interesting points, and we'll get to the answers and opinions on that in a minute. But real quick, a reminder to join the crusade and sign up for a free Substack account to get that Saturday Watch Guide, which gives you everything that we talk about throughout the week. And if you don't want to miss a single episode that we're bringing to you, then go ahead and go over there and sign up. You'll get thumbnails, you'll get descriptions, you'll get links. And then if you so choose, we have the Paying Guardians membership, which is $7.99 a month or $74.99 a year. Gets you about 2.5 months free. And that gives you even more content. It gives you the Survival Dispatch emergency notification system that we put in place if there is an intelligence alert or some sort of natural disaster or terrorist threat going on. You also get access to our private chat, which is the high traffic signal chat that we have so many people on there sharing things. I know S2's in there mixing it up on a regular basis. You get our entire library of 37 e-mags for free, which is anything you need to know about surviving just about any kind of situation. And they are beautifully done, very just beautifully curated magazines. Early access to instructional videos from JJ and Jason Sawyer. And then you get our full daily sit rep with sources on the topic at hand. So if you guys want to, you can at least go over and sign up for a free account, and it costs you nothing. If you want to support us, that's one of the best ways that you can do it. All right, now on with the show, and specifically the motivations of the attack. And there were some interesting points in there of how you fight a Islamic jihadist organization. So what specific, and I'll go with you first, Sam, on this one. What specific ideological motivations drove ISIS to target Paris and French civilians? And what is that specific reason for targeting them?
Well, Allah told them to. Okay, they're doing this in the name of their God. Okay. So, I mean, that's the reason they're killing everybody. They're killing the infidel because they were told to. And if they die, they get, what is it, 70 virgins? Is that the number?
72,
Yeah.
72.
72. See, I wouldn't do it for no less than 73. Okay.
Yeah.
I would do 73.
That's
So
my price, right?
that's where I draw the line. 72, I'm out.
Yeah, but they didn't tell you whether they were boys or girls.
Oh, right.
Ooh,
Wouldn't
yeah.
that be funny?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's the reason they're doing all this stuff. And, I hate to say it, but none of this stuff's ever going to end. I mean, look at the Middle East. I mean, this has been going on for how many thousands of years? It's the only way that I see ending something like this, which nobody would want to listen to and hear because it would be horrific. If you want to solve this problem, you just tell the Muslim Brotherhood, for every one American person you kill, we will kill 100,000 of yours. Innocents. Okay. Now, nobody wants to hear that, but here's what'll happen. They'll do it. And if they kill 100 of us, you kill 500,000 or 1 million of them. And then you know what'll happen? The whole world will come down on them. And I'm going to tell you why. Because these people know people in high places in the Middle East. And all they're going to say is, are you out of your mind? These Americans are freaking crazy. Do not touch another one. Okay. Because the next time they're going to blow up our whole country. And unfortunately, I know it's horrible. You don't want to do something like that. But that's the only way they're going to stop. By the way, that would stop it. I guarantee it. You do it once, they do it. You do it the second time, you make it even worse. And it would never happen again because their own people would come down on them.
Yeah.
Yes. Countries
so-
would come down on them.
That's kind of what happened over there before.
What do you mean?
That's
Yeah,
kind of what
historically,
happened over there in some of the conflicts that have been there, is their own people said, are you crazy? Stop this.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. But could you imagine if you wiped out a whole city? Gone, everything. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you just get on TV and say, the next time this happens, the Middle East will cease to exist. So do whatever you got to do. All the other countries would gang up. They would hunt these people down. We've had enough. And the United States would be known as crazy, but I'm telling you, it would work. And I'm not condoning it. I don't want to kill any innocent people. All I'm saying is, if you want it to stop, you need to teach them a lesson, and the whole world will come down on them.
This is really the problem with the modern style of warfare.
What's so funny?
What's so funny?
MSB 9021 on Rumble. You got to pull that one up.
George Washington.
70 to 69 Virginians. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. That's very, very good. Very good. But I think this is the problem with how much the media is involved in warfare. We act like warfare is this nice, sweet, precision type thing, kind of like, bombing the nuclear facility in Iran or whatever, that it's just this pinpoint strike. No, warfare throughout history is the most brutal, the most unforgiving thing in the world. And it's meant to be that way because it's meant to stop aggression and stop the enemy. And yes, innocent people die in warfare. In fact, you go back to stuff like World War II, World War I, the vast majority of casualties were innocent civilians. That's the way it is throughout history and every war. So to act like this is something new, that the brutality of war is something new, that's not true at all. If anything, warfare is more precise than it's ever been throughout history. Like, we're not hacking people in half with swords, but it's the reality is yes, you have to send a message. It's just like I could use as a father, my children. If I let my children do whatever in the world they want, and I don't escalate and I don't stop and discipline them when they're out of line, they're just going to get further out of line. They're just going to do more crazy things. I have seen this with people who don't discipline or teach their kids the right way.
And they turn into Democrats.
Well, nice. But it's true. Like, they run their house. Like the parents are no longer, the the inmates are running the asylum. And it's like, no, we have to do that. We have to stop this stuff before it gets within our borders and it's affecting our kids. You know, I'm about America first, and I want our borders protected. And over the last 4 years prior to this one, our borders were completely open, and all of this craziness was allowed to come into our country. We have to stop. We have to stop this. And let's not,
you also have to stop the indoctrination too. If you keep letting these goat herders come into our colleges and start propagandizing and indoctrinating our kids in these colleges, this is going to continue.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And one other thing, and this is kind of on a tangent, and then we'll get back on topic. But there is a real problem with like the Western civilization built on Christian values, on natural law, and all of these principles throughout history handed down. It does not mix with other ideologies. The ideology of Islam does not mix. And you said this earlier, Sam. It just does not mix with other ideologies because its commission is to gain control and then force everybody either to become Islamic, to become that, or die, or be, in some cases in the Middle East, if you are a different religion, you are taxed beyond any ability to actually survive an everyday life. And so, yeah, it's completely broken. Anyways, moving on, and we will circle back to some of this. This is a video on November 13th, 2015. ISIS carried out the most brutal terrorist attacks in Paris, where 130 people died, were killed, and hundreds were wounded, over 400. One of the organizers of this attack, given the fact that he was part of the ISIS command in the time, was a current leader of the Rebranded HTS terrorist organization, supported by Erdogan. So let's watch this video. We're not going to watch. It's 9 minutes long. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We'll watch a little bit of it though.
Taking Hama, after taking Aleppo, I mean, how significant is this for you right now?
From a military perspective, what comes after Hama will not be the same as what came before. However, I prefer not to be overly optimistic during the battle. I like to remain cautious and vigilant to avoid complacency and ensure we don't suffer losses while believing we are safe.
What comes after this? What's after Hama?
The course of the battle, as for the secrets of the battle, let's leave them to the unfolding events. You will witness them in reality, which is better than discussing them now.
In a matter of days, you have taken major cities. What's changed? How are you able to do this now?
In recent years, there has been a unification of internal opinions and the establishment of institutional structures within the liberated areas of Syria. This institutionalization included the restructuring within military factions. They entered unified training camps and developed a sense of discipline.
I'm going to stop it there because that's a big point right there. Do you think that that's just the military, or do you think that that includes terrorist organizations as well? Because they all train in the military.
Who's that question for?
I'll go to you first, S2, and then I'll come to Sam.
I think it's all of the above.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Completely agree. What we're seeing come out now, and this is another thing, and I've got a specific question for you, Sam. But one of the things that's we're not prepared for on a local level, maybe in some big cities. You want to take a guess? Like, our military is very highly outfitted, big budgets, able to buy, PVS, 31s, night vision. I'm speaking the new thermal rigs where there's night vision and thermal built in. They have all of those for our military, and they're widely used. Now, let's rewind back 3 years, 4 years, where we pulled out of Afghanistan, left a vacuum, and the Taliban took back over. But we left like $80 billion worth of military equipment, grade A stuff, top level stuff. And now that stuff has made it into these camps. Now our enemies are training with night vision, with thermal optics, with all of these things that, guess what, our local police force and our local SWAT teams don't have on a regular basis. You go in there like you're going to do a drug bust, and your enemy has night vision, not to mention the high level of communication units that we have, the Harris Falcon 3 radios, where that you can encrypt those communications. Guess what? You're outgunned. You're beaten on the technological side, and we're going to see a lot of these things go south if our enemy, which we have supplied these weapons to, has these weapons and knows how to use them. So, Sam, how do you think that the pullout from Afghanistan and leaving all of that equipment behind, how is that going to affect our ability to fight against these terrorist organizations?
Well, it's certainly not going to help, John. Okay, I mean, it's like you give somebody a gun and say, "Okay, let's fight." I mean, it's kind of a shame that all this had taken place, and Biden just left it there for all of them to take. And I was talking to somebody, and they said that they were on the phone with CIA. It was on the ground. They were saying that the Chinese were there buying this stuff from them. So, I mean, how accurate is that? It probably is. I mean, they were probably looking for money, and they had all this stuff, and buyers came in to buy it. So, they could have made some money off of this. But honestly, where are we going to be fighting these people? Because it ain't going to be here, other than these lone terrorists. You're not going to see these people coming down with tanks and all that stuff. You may see some 100 people or so shooting people, but it's not going to be anything that's coordinated with military. So honestly, I think that even if you have them, the issue that you're facing is the technology that we have far exceeds that. And the fact that you're going to have people with drones, drones flying over. I mean, that it's going to be, checking out the whole area. And look, I've never been in the military. I'm not a military expert, but I would bet any money that on those drones that are way up in the air, they have some kind of heat seekers or something, thermals that can see how many people. Am I right?
They do. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they're going to know what the picture is, and the guys on the ground are going to be, 5,000 yards away before they'll have all the intel they need.
We already know where their training camps are here in the United States.
So now wait a minute. So you just say that the terrorists are training in the United States? We already know.
Yes.
So why are we even allowing it? Why aren't we just walking in there and shooting everybody?
Well, that's a good question, and that was something that I wanted to bring up later on, but the question never came around.
I'm asking.
Go ahead. You know what? Let's go ahead and pivot there as we start to wind down. Let's go ahead and pivot to that, because I think this is a really, really important thing for us to look at. And what I have pulled up here, just to kind of, we'll close the ring on this. So this is the same man that you saw in the previous video, arriving with his rebranded organization to meet Emmanuel Macron in France. Same guy.
Macron's a son of perdition anyway.
But here's the crazy thing. That's the man that was helped plan the Paris attack in France with the current president of France. Years later, no punishment. I mean, seriously, is that not crazy?
I don't remember hearing Jolani being the guy that helped plan that. Their ringleader was Abdelhamid Aboud, and he was killed. So, I don't remember Jolani being part of that. But
anyway, it is kind of insane that someone who was once a part of ISIS and Al Qaeda, which ISIS carried out that attack, but highly involved in a terrorist organization, is now welcomed in with open arms by the French president. It's kind of insane. But moving to what actually is what we're going to close with. How are we going to combat this in the homeland? And I will push back just slightly, Sam, on a couple of things you said. One of the things that they're saying in the intel world is that these attacks will actually be coordinated, that these cells have made it through and they are actually in communication with each other. And they know a lot of the tactics that they've learned from 20 years of war with us in Afghanistan and Iraq. During GWAT, we saw them slowly start to adopt our tactics and our movements and how we do what we do, and they learned a ton from us. And now when you actually see the videos that are coming out of the Islamic Army, they're training like American soldiers.
Well,
they're
of course,
learning.
We trained them in Afghanistan to fight the Russians.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
and wasn't Osama bin Laden in the White House? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, which means Macron is basically doing the same thing. So, it's
rinse and repeat.
Yeah, rinse and repeat. So, and by the way, what I meant, John, was they're not going to be driving tanks through America.
Right. Non-conventional warfare.
So,
That's the
yes. Do I think terrorists came through the borders? 100%. Okay. I mean, this is just open borders. Do I think they're training? Well, I would suspect they are, but what blows me away is if they're actually training, somebody should walk in there and take care of them all. Not somebody, but our own FBI or military or somebody should just take all this shit out before it happens, but not the United States. We always wait till it happens and then we act after the fact. So
yes.
Well, the largest reason behind that, if I can interrupt you for a second, Sam, the largest reason behind that is because they think that there are bigger fish to fry. And the problem is that if you get all of the little fish, then you can't get to the big fish. That's the consensus out there. And in my view of it, if you kill all the little fish, the big fish don't have anybody to command.
Yeah.
So to your point, what are we waiting on?
If you actually know where they're training, you send a squad over there and you either arrest them or take them all out or deport them or whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter to me. But once they're gone, they're gone. Okay.
The other problem that you run into is that where they're training in the United States, they're on private property. So make no mistake, that's another thing they're working with the communists with to attack capitalism. So that's private property, but they're also exploiting our civil rights for their own purposes in that way, because if they can't train on their own private property, then that means that we as Americans can't train on our own private property. And we've seen that under attack for the last 5 years too.
May I just start by saying, are you an American citizen? That's it. Okay. Because if you're not an American citizen, get the fuck out. That's it. Okay. Better yet, let us help you. Here's a beautiful body bag, fits you perfectly. You could squeeze right in there. So I disagree with you there. I think if you're here and actually doing something to harm Americans, you shouldn't be here to begin with. Where the hell's ICE?
Yeah.
What if I told you one of these training camps was right near one of our major military bases?
Well, that makes it even easier. Could you call
and
somebody?
The military knows about it.
Are they giving them weapons? Are they helping them?
I'm not going to comment on that.
I would say that, any of that kind of things, it would have been, I would say, in the previous administration or something that is not well known in the ranks of the military. I, by and large, do think that the men in our military, especially like the enlisted corps, are some of the best of us, even to this day. The people that are going to sign up for the military, they tried all the woke recruitments for years, and recruitment went down because those aren't the kind of people that are going to go fight. The kind of people that are going to go fight is, 23-year-old John, 20 years ago, joining the military. And they need boys and men that are going to go and fight and give all because they're patriotic. And when you don't instill patriotism, that's what you get. But when they tried the woke recruitment stuff, it just didn't work. Like it caused recruitment to plummet into disaster areas. So by and large, I think that the rank and file military members are the ones that they're the ones that keep us safe and free. Now the officer corps, that's different, especially when you get into the high ranks of the Joint Chiefs and stuff like that. Yeah, those people are just politicians parading around in uniforms.
That's why they don't fire sergeants.
Right. I think that let's pivot to how Americans can be prepared for these kinds of things, because the reality is, if these kind of things could happen anywhere in the country, and the latest intel is that they're going to be going after second tier cities, that's cities between 100 and 500,000 people, and everybody is within a few hours of one of those cities, I would say, generally in the United States. And they're going to go after those with one or less tier 1 trauma centers. There's a couple of cities within a couple of hours of me that fit that bill. One doesn't even have a tier 1 trauma center. The other one has one. When you overload that, guess what? Somebody said in the chat earlier, you're your own first responder. When you get into those kinds of situations where you have an attack like Paris, where there's a big diversionary attack to pull all of your resources, and in a town of 100,000, this is not Paris, France. This is not multi-millions of people. It is one. They may have one SWAT team or two SWAT teams in the entire city. They may have one bomb squad, if they even have one. It may be just a cross-trained police officer that has been trained in bomb disposal. And then you may have really one medical response unit, one big, heavy, hardcore medical response unit. You get that overloaded, and then you take control of a hospital, or you take control of a large populated building, then the body count skyrockets because your first responders are not available. So with that kind of a scenario in mind, the everyday average survival dispatch consumer of our content, somebody who wants to be on the cutting edge and understands the threats and wants to be prepared for those things, where do we start? And I'm gonna pose that to you, S2, first, and then I'll go to Sam with the same question.
Training. First, train to observe your environment, observe where you are going, observe where you go, develop your plan wherever you go to exfil the area should something happen, or be prepared to shoot somebody in the head if you need to. But training is essential. Planning is essential. Plans always fail on first contact, so you need to have a contingency backup plan as well. First and foremost, protect your families, and that all of those things will help you do that. You know as well as I do, it's much more complicated answer than this, but those are some of the 10,000 foot view answers that I could give to that.
Yeah. So,
and the other thing I would say also is organize at your local level. Your network is going to be what could save you in a situation like that. So if you're in an area where you can network with your local neighbors, your local police departments, your fire departments, your EMS, those folks, build your networks locally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm gonna bring a statement from history. So I'm a big fan of history. World War II is probably one of my favorite things to study. But the Battle of Midway is one of those battles that always comes to mind when I hear stuff like this. And there was a changeover after Pearl Harbor. There was a changeover in the command in the Pacific. The outgoing commander handed over the reins of command to Admiral Nimitz. Titan, legend of the Navy and World War II. When he sat down with that commander, that outgoing commander, and this is great depicted in the newer version of Midway, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but this scene is pretty historically accurate. He sits down with Chester Nimitz and he says, next time when your intelligence officers tells you something, listen to them. And he turned to the head intelligence officer, the guy that actually ended up breaking the code, and he said, and if they won't listen to you, make them listen. And that's the key. Maybe you live in a town that is more liberal. First of all, if I would say get out of it. But if people are not listening, make them listen. Make them understand. Make it irrefutable. And that's why we try and give you guys all this evidence on survival dispatches, because it can help you build the case to present to your communities. And maybe you save hundreds of people's lives. But I would say, don't stop trying to educate anybody that will listen on the real threats that are out there, and build a community of like-minded people to get through these kinds of things. Sam, I kind of went on a tirade there for a second. Right. I'm going to turn it over to you. What do you see as the way that people need to be prepared for the potential of something like this happening?
So I do agree with you as too on this. You need to train for it, like anything else, because if you don't train, you're not going to know what to do. The thing is, and because it sounds like you guys know what the hell you're doing. I've never had to train for anything like this before. So where would you go to get training? I mean, I'm more, because I'm not the expert on this topic. If I say, or if my neighbor says, we really need to be prepared in case there's a terrorist attack, we need to train. Well, who? I mean, I could go to the military. They ain't taking me.
Go to your local gun store and make friends with the owners of the gun store. They know all the people.
Yeah, I would assume that's accurate. Yeah, because that would be my thing. Is okay, great. I want to train. This looks like fun. Let's do it. Where do you go? And by the way, on another note, what I really would have liked us to is if you would have had like a Sydney Sweeney look with the jeans and then you had the hat on, that would have been really cool to look at.
I'll work on that.
I appreciate it, because
conservative females are way hotter than liberal females, if you want to call them females.
That's why they're angry all the time.
Yes, they're very angry. They're definitely very angry.
It's so angry. No, all good points. I would say that we don't take this and just dismiss it. That's the biggest thing for me. We don't just need more people that are just consuming content. That's not why we do this. Obviously, you guys are a big part of it. All of our subscribers and all of our fans, you're a big part of it. But the reason that we do this is so that you guys can be prepared. So maybe we can save this republic someday. Maybe we can keep this from happening. Maybe we can enact change that's going to actually, for future generations. I've got 3 small children, and I want to see them inherit a nation that's better off than it was when I was born. And that's a tall task for us. But it all starts with us. You're your own first responder. You're your own intel officer. Get those things in your mind. Start learning things. Learn communications. Learn first aid. Probably one of the biggest things you could learn is first aid, because at some point you may be faced with having to save your own family member. And if you don't know what to do, that would be a horrible thing, to watch somebody die when you could have actually saved them. So all of this stuff is important. Get firearm training. If you're in the Midwest, come to Tombstone Gun Range, Righteous Savages. We do that stuff all of the time. We have a lot of content coming out on survival here in the next upcoming weeks that we've been filming, and it's all good information. But all of this information is useless if you don't put it into practice. If you don't actually say, hey, I'm going to go and make a change. I'm going to go and I'm going to actually go to the range instead of watching Garand Thumb. I'm going to go and take this Stop the Bleed course at my local gun range or my local police station. I'm going to learn. I'm going to talk to my family about how we're going to evac a restaurant, evac our house, how we're going to defend ourselves. It's all important, and it's all a part of building yourself up to have the confidence to react in a way to where you're not just cannon fodder. You're not just a statistic. You actually are in the fight.
I would say one other thing too here. If you're somebody that has no idea where to start whatsoever, buy a copy of the book Prepared by Mike Glover.
By Mike Glover. Yep.
That
Mike
will
Glover
give-
is a regular. Yep.
That will give you mindset. It will give you scenario based things that you can look at to say, okay, I don't have this. I need to get this. How do I get it? And then you go
Yep.
seek out those resources.
I completely agree. In fact, it's sitting on that bookshelf right behind me. I've read it.
It's sitting here in my hand right now.
I actually want to read it again because it's all chock full of good information. Mike he's a subject matter expert, has ran multiple companies in the survival vein, and was a Green Beret, CIA contractor. Long career of really good stuff. So we know that what we have revisited tonight is a big deal. Actually, before we go to this, I'm gonna let Sam talk to us about your news. Tell me about your news, Sam. What is it, and how can people get involved?
We're a hyper-local news platform. Now, are you in Illinois?
I am in Illinois.
Okay.
Southern tip. I'm as far away from the communists as you can get and still be in Southern Illinois.
Good for you. By the way, we're a news content distribution platform. So I'm like a platform, but I look like the Chicago Tribune just on steroids. And all of my content comes from everybody else. But here's the interesting part. You know how they're looking for these people in Texas? I'm talking about the people that left Texas. The
state senators and congressmen. Yep.
Okay. You want to know where they are?
Yeah, they're with J.B. Pritzker up in Northern Illinois.
Yeah, Aurora is what is what. So I just had an article come in. It's in Aurora, Illinois. So we published that to Illinois and to Texas. But we're a hyper local news platform. So we do national news, state news, local news. So we could drill down to a city. We allow the public to interact and contribute. Hey, by the way, hit multimedia up at the top, mouse over it, and then go to your news videos at the bottom of that. Yeah, right there. And so look at the lead.
Hey, look at that.
It's this show.
There we are.
Okay, so it's actually live on our platform running national right now. So,
awesome.
So what we do is we allow, there's a green button at the top that says submit your news, and people can contribute to the narrative. But then at the bottom of the page, there's something that says become a citizen journalist. And people can actually become news reporters. So this is where I've got 5,000 something odd people now that are news reporters all over the United States and growing. And we have a monetization model like YouTube where they share in the ad revenue, right? So what I have the ability to do is run a story to a city, a county, a market, state, regional, or national. So it could be a city council meeting in your city, which is going to be politics news for that city. If it's the high school football game, it's going to, or if it's somebody's little league game, will be sports news for the city. High school football game is going to be sports news for the market. Markets are defined by television DMAs, right? Like the Chicago market runs into Indiana, it's up in the northeastern area. So, and then we got state, regional, or national. The Monday Night Football game is national news. So that's what I do. Ultimately, what I do will replace the legacy media because they're gone. So what everything is moving to is platforms with monetization. YouTube would be the closest model to me, not because we're in the same business, but because they have everybody on YouTube or Rumble, you're an independent broadcaster. Nobody calls you today and says, I want you to do this. You do it on your own. Either the market likes you or they don't. In our case, we allow journalists, and it's very broad. So I have people that do entertainment news, sports news. I have people that just do auto racing, for God's sake. So like we have a 2A section. Stuff like this would be great in our 2A section.
Boom.
I should have, I didn't know what it was going to be like. So I could add it to 2A as well. But this is the kind of stuff that drives the traffic. And so anyway, that's what I do. So I'm in the process of building the largest news organization in the world. And it's easy because nobody has anywhere to go. If you're a local news reporter in Chicago and you lost your job, what the hell are you going to do? Nobody's hiring. Right. Not one company is hiring.
Yeah. Yep. They're laying off even top tier people. Like Colbert's going away on the
because
like entertainment. But
because USAID pulled the plug.
Yep.
That's where that
Yep.
money was coming from. It's exactly
Yep.
where the money was coming from. So
Yep.
yeah, so it's all going to change. The old guard is out. It'll be all independent news reporting, boots on the ground. That's how I know the guys in Aurora, because my people did it. You know, they're the ones covering it.
Yep. Yep.
That's cool.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. And I do agree with you. I think that, you know, I mean, they actually said that it flipped over. YouTube flipped over about 6 months ago to where more people are watching YouTube on their TVs than they are on their phones. It flipped over like 6 months ago, which is actually causing more of the higher quality content to start to grow more, is because of that, because people want to see high quality content. But it also is an opportunity for people to get the truth out there. And I think that that's paramount to what we're doing, and having a real free market of ideas. I think it's awesome what you're doing. And hopefully we can help you grow that and maybe do some collaborations. That would be awesome.
So there's a component to this that I think everybody overlooks as far as intelligence goes. And I don't mean smarts intelligence. I mean information intelligence. It's a proven fact that if somebody gets wind of something that could potentially have it could be an imminent attack, we'll put it that way. If it gets put out on the wire far enough and wide enough, those attacks generally are stopped. I've seen it, and you'll never know it. So it's something important to keep in mind. If you have something that you've seen, say something about it. Give Sam an email, let him know. He'll put it out on the wire. Because if you ruin their plans because their terrorism depends upon the element of surprise. If you take that element of surprise away, then you take an element of that terrorism away from them. And then their plans suck.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Do you have something else, Sam? Go ahead.
Just, you know, our whole platform is citizen journalist, us too. I mean, it is news reporting that's by the people for the people. And so all my content creators, I mean, I'm looking at something right now. Remember Diamond and Silk, right? Diamond died. Okay, so here's her article. I mean, she probably produces 3 or 4 a day. President Trump takes stroll out of the White House rooftop, takes questions of reporters. All my content comes in from everybody else. That's the cool part. So I'm a news so what I'm saying is that these local people that find stuff out can actually report it in their local communities. What I have is boots on the ground, and every month I get bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, from us to you, Sam, thank you for being here. Thank you for being such a strong American patriot. And I love your outspokenness. I mean, that's what we need, more straight talk. And I've no problem with that at all. Real quick, let's get the conflicted question in, and then we're going to close her down.
All right, here we go. If you haven't done it yet, hit that like and subscribe button and make a comment. Here we go. How would you deal with betrayal in a world post-collapse? There are no laws, but the ones you and your group choose to observe. Where do you draw the line between forgiving someone and seeking justice? Give examples. I'll go to John first.
Okay.
Thank you.
So for me, I always rely on my faith as my guiding principle there, and so I'm taught forgiveness. However, the Bible also doesn't teach us to be, just mindless drones. It actually tells us to be shrewd as serpents in places. So I can't. I have to be wise. I have to be and understand a threat and an issue when it happens, and see it coming ahead of time. So for me, I think that the line would be if you are jeopardizing the security and safety of my family, my community, then that would be where punishments start to escalate, and not above a serious issue, being awarded the death penalty, in all honesty, because I think within communities you always have to have some kind of guiding principle. You have to have some kind of laws, whether it be communal laws or whatever. So That's really where I would go with it. But this is actually a little bit more difficult question to answer than I originally thought.
Yeah, it is. Is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So first, you answered it good, John, because it's very broad in scope and it is hard. So the words you use were in a lawless society, right? Am I correct? So there are no laws. There's total breakdown. And so, there's a lot of different scenarios you could come up with. Like John said, I mean, it's, what is it exactly? You said give details. Well, or what are the, so I would say that if somebody does something treasonous and it does jeopardize your family and your community that you're in, you need to eliminate them. But years ago, there was a show that was on, and it was, I wish I could remember the name of it. You guys would love it. So it was what happened when society completely broke down. There was no power. Okay. Did you know what I'm talking about? There was none. And all of a sudden, like the Google execs that were billionaires, that were overweight, that were driving around in limos, that had all these hot chicks. You want to know who took their women? It was the bartender, the badass bartender who had nothing. Because what happens is all of a sudden we're all animals, right? And so the strong survive and the weak get eliminated. So that show, I mean, when they canceled after like 2 or 3 seasons, I'm like, God, the show is so perfect because it depicts everything. Everybody's propped up, and all of a sudden now it just goes back to basic survival. So in that show, there was people that were traitors. There was people, and they killed them. They just got rid of them because you can't have that stuff. So for me, I think that depending on what it is, because you do have to have some kind of, because I don't even know what it wouldn't be, but if somebody's do something that's going to inflict harm to our whole society, remember there were factions that broke out. Okay, it's relevant to this conversation. So I could lead a faction, John, you could lead a faction, S2, you could lead a faction, but if one of my people is colluding with you, that guy's got problems. Okay, so but if my girlfriend is cheating on me with some other guy, I don't know that I'm going to kill her over it. I might just go, bitch, get out of here. So, and that's treasonous. It's just not that, So
pack your shit.
Yeah, it would be like, let's just get another one. Right?
Was the show Jericho?
No.
It was Jericho is much like that, and that was 2 seasons of one of my favorite shows of all time. Is Jericho?
This was something where they released these nanobots. They were microscopic. You could breathe them in, and they controlled, literally billions of them, and they turned off the power. I'm going to ask, what TV show?
Revolution?
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah. I knew when you started talking about nanobots, I was like, because Jericho was much more like a realistic type thing, and it was a community.
Yes.
But yeah, another fantastic show. Anyways, 2 great shows for you guys to watch in between now and the next.
When was Jericho? When was Jericho?
Jericho was like there was a nuclear
what year?
2007.
So it's not that old, because I bet you Revolution was back then, right? I mean, 2012, 2 seasons.
Yeah. So Jericho was a victim of the writer's strike of the early 2000s. A very famous playwright on Broadway was who wrote was the showrunner for it, and a very well done show. Had potential to be just one of the most grandiose kind of survival shows in the history of TV. But in any case, I digress. S2, what was your answer?
As they said in The Godfather, we have laws. Laws are what separate us from the animals.
That's good. Yep.
So how would I handle a betrayal? I would have to look at the situation. I look at the most imminent things that are closer to me at that point in time than what's out in the world. Because like you, a lot of my decisions are based on my faith. So I'm not necessarily of the world. I just happen to be in it. So what's most imminent to me is my family and my community. And if their safety and security were betrayed in any way, shape, or form, you're out. That's it. You're out.
Yeah.
And how would I deal with it? It would depend upon the severity of the betrayal. Like Sam said, if it's my wife cheating on me with some other guy, pack your shit, bitch, get out. If it's that you're giving away our food and ammunition for money and you're not telling anybody about it, I think those would probably be met with some good old lead vitamins.
Very good for you. Very good.
Yes. Yeah. They cure what ails you. If what ails you. Yes.
Great stress relievers too.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. In fact, I'm going to be around a bunch of lead vitamins on Thursday. I'm going to be in one of the safest locations to fight against a terrorist attack, and that's the Gun Owners of America's conference in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, y'all are going to get protested there, dude.
Yeah, we went last year. It was a great time.
You should be reporting for your news there.
Hey, we could talk about it. I do write articles for our Substack, so
yeah. I mean, set up a citizen journalist account on our site, and then you're off to the races. You're a reporter. This is awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll give you national coverage in our 2A section, right?
Sounds good. Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll talk after the show.
Yes. I'll stay.
Guys, it has been really awesome, and this was a great conversation. I think we really were able to dive deep into this and the ideology and what we need to be looking for. Appreciate all you guys. Don't forget to go over and sign up for the free Substack account so that you can get the Saturday Watch Guide, and that will also give you notifications for when we go live on every day. But Saturday we have a live at 7 Eastern. So it's either myself or Chris that's hosting. Tomorrow he'll be back for sure with some awesome things with Jeff, Randy, and Khalid. And that is the Road to 9/11 2.0, talking about ISIS and their plans of attack. So this is really just going to be an expansion on what we talked about tonight, giving historical context. Remember, history is one of the greatest indicators of future events. Your enemy will always tell you by his past what the future holds. But go over and sign up for a free account. Don't forget our sponsors, CCW Safe for self-defense coverage, Carnival for amazing high-quality meats. Use Eat Meat for 10% off. And if you are a police officer or you are in a family or community with a police officer, turn them on to Compliant Technologies for the restraint gloves. They're incredible. You guys can still go over to our YouTube and see me and Dave get zapped with those things. Dave has fought through multiple tasers and could not stand for more than a second with the gloves. They're very powerful and very effective. So anyways, I would like to thank you guys for all your support, specifically subscribers and sponsors. You guys are the reason that we can do this every day, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Don't forget to go over and check out the Righteous Savages YouTube. There's going to be a lot of content going on this weekend, and possibly some stuff on your news too. We'll see. So until next time, you guys be safe, be prepared, and God bless America.
Hoorah.
Susan has been a tireless advocate in advancing our interests. Thank you, Susan, for being willing to take on this next assignment.
As you've outlined, we have vital opportunities to seize and ongoing challenges to confront. We have much still to accomplish.
Woke up this morning, finding justice in our land. Sunshine, divine, exposing evil by design. It's no longer a dream, they've been caught so they want to spin. Come on, let the darkness begin. Hearing all the news, I can see the Obama's school. Oh, you're so busted. You're so screwed. I feel it feel Obama's school. Leaders that we trusted, so much treason on display. They said, Trump's mad, the deplorables bad, resisting don't obey. seditions and secrets, control the media and attack. But President Trump's our badass. He never cracked. You and others knew that concealed Obama's coup. You're so busted. You're so screwed. As you feel Obama's coup. Oh, you thought it was gonna go away, did you? God bless America.